Time series forecasting is a very common data science task that you will come across if you are a data scientist somewhere. Here we will talk about Holt-Winters method of time series forecasting, and we would know why Holt-Winters method is better than many other complex time series models. Holt-Winters method is easy to learn and implement, and it needs much less number of codes and hyperparameter tuning as compared to models like ARIMA or seasonal ARIMA. And Holt-Winters forecasting is surprisingly powerful despite its simplicity. Here first we will learn about the theory, and then we would implement Holt-Winters method in Jupyter Notebook on a real business sales data. We can use Holt-Winters method when our series has trend, an upward or a downward trend. Like in this series it has a downward trend, and it has seasonality like periodic, regular, rhythmic movement to it. In those cases we can use Holt-Winters method for forecasting. A series that is random, that has no trend or no seasonality, in those cases Holt-Winters method should not be used for forecasting. And in real business scenario, most of the sales or business related data, they have trend and seasonality in it. So in those cases we can use Holt-Winters method for forecasting. Holt-Winters method factors in three components of a series. The first is level, and it refers to different values of a series at different point of time. To state statistically, it means the local mean at different points. Like around this part the level is 40,000, and if we come down to this part the data levels around 20,000. The next component is trend, and trend shows a general tendency of the data, whether it's increasing or decreasing over time. In this example we have a decreasing trend. The third component that a model captures is the seasonality, and it is a regular, periodic, rhythmic movement of the data over time. So our data can have a quarterly or monthly or hourly seasonality in it. So trend and seasonality can be additive or multiplicative in nature, and Holt-Winters method can capture all of these scenarios. And we would see what exactly is meant by additive or multiplicative trend and seasonality using plots visually, because most of the time we do a visual check to find the nature of the underlying series. In case of additive trend, the trend line would be a straight line, either increasing or decreasing, but it would be a straight line, and so the rate of change of trend would be constant over time. Whereas in case of multiplicative trend, the change, like in this example, the change is not a straight line change, it's changing exponentially. So the rate of change is actually increasing over time. So this is an example of multiplicative trend. Identifying the nature of trend is very important, as well as the seasonality is very important. Like when we do the coding, we'll see that we have to mention whether the trend and the seasonality are additive or multiplicative in nature. In case of seasonality, if the magnitude of seasonal patterns is constant over time, so it does not change the magnitude, then that is a case of additive seasonality. Whereas in case of multiplicative seasonality, the seasonal variation, the seasonal magnitude would increase or decrease with time. In those cases, we would mention seasonality equals to multiplicative. So let's jump to Jupyter Notebook and get started with the coding. Let's see what we are going to cover in coding part. First, we would see how we read the data for a time series analysis, and how to deal with the missing values if there is any. And number 3 is data structure that is required for time series. This is a very important step because we need a particular type of data structure when we are dealing with a time series analysis. We'll see that in details. And the next step is splitting the data into train and test. In step 5, we would implement Holt-Winters method on our train data. And the step 6 is model evaluation, where we see how good our prediction was from the model that we have built here. And the final step is making the final model, where we would use entire data to predict the unseen future. So before we start to go in details of the code, let's understand what kind of data we have and what exactly we are looking for in the CSV file. So this is the data that we are going to work on. We have daily sales data that is recorded on a daily basis, and here sales is the number of products sold per day. This is the monthly total sales, where we add all the sales, daily sales of 1 month and get the total value of it. I got this report using pivot table. We would see how we can achieve this in Python. This is the plot of our monthly sales data. So we can see that the sales is decreasing over time, and it looks like a quarterly seasonality. We'll know more about it in details when we do the coding. And we would build our Holt-Winters method that will capture these trend and this seasonality and predict the future, that is the sales of the next 3 months, January to March 2020. Let's head over to Jupyter Notebook now. We would do some standard imports like NumPy and Pandas. The other libraries I would import as and when I need them. This is the first step that we should pay attention to. When we read the data, we have to make sure that the column that has the date should be read as date time data type. To do that, we would use pd.readcsv, give the name of the CSV file, and in parse dates we would pass the name of the column that has the date. So we can check that by using df.info that the date column has the data type of date time, whereas sales is floats. With df.head we can have a look at the data. It's a daily sales data as we have seen in the CSV file. The step 2 that we should keep in mind is that in time series analysis we cannot have any missing values. To check that, we use isNull.sum. Our data has no missing values in it. But if there is missing values in a time series, you have to impute the missing values before applying time series model to it. Please check out my video on how to handle missing values, where you can see how we can handle missing values in Python and in special cases like time series analysis. Step 3 is data structure of time series, and it is a very important step for time series analysis because most of the time we have to do some level of aggregation or grouping of the data, like from daily data to monthly data, or aggregating monthly data into quarterly data as per the business requirement. Notice that sales is generally recorded, and in this case also sales is recorded on a daily basis. So we have daily sales, but as per the business requirement, the sales figure are always seen and analyzed on monthly basis, like target achievement, etc. are also calculated on monthly sales term. So we have to aggregate the sales figure as from daily to monthly. In Excel, we do that by using pivot tables. But in Python, we are going to use two functions. One is group by and the second is resample. We are going to use these two functions to do the aggregation of data from daily to monthly. So first I am doing the group by, where I group by using the date column and take the sum. And if we do that, the data might look same as what we have read originally, but the group by is doing two things that is very important for time series analysis. Number one, it is aggregating on the dates, as there might be multiple entries for one date. So if we see, here are two entries for 8th January, and when we are group by, we can see there is only one entry for 8th January and it is taking some of the two entries. And the second thing that group by is doing is it is converting the date column as the index, and we need to have the date as index in time series analysis. The next step is resampling. Resample takes two arguments. First is rule and second is whether we are going to sum the daily sales or we are going to take the mean of the daily sales. Here we are going to take the sum. Now rule equals to m says that when we are going to aggregate daily sales to monthly sales, the date that would be the month end. So m stands for month end, but as the month ends are as month ends vary for each month, it's better that we write ms. So if we write ms, then it would do the same thing aggregate the sales to daily sales to monthly sales, but the date here would be first of every month. There are other rules. Some of the commonly used rules are these, where A stands for year end. If we have monthly data and we want to take the yearly aggregate, so we will mention rule equals to A. MS stands for month start, M stands for month end. So these are some commonly used rules that are used to resample the data. Now we have the data that is converted from daily to monthly, and basically we have achieved this format in Python. The next step is we would plot the data. Simple df.plot would do the job. So we can see that we have the trend is decreasing over time, and we have some seasonality in our data. If you want to separate the time series components like trend and seasonality, then there is one code that we can use. Import statmodels.api as sm. Then we would import from statmodels.tsa.timeseries import seasonal decompose. Within seasonal decompose, we'll pass our data frame and we would write models equals to additive or multiplicative. If you are unable to find whether the model is additive or multiplicative in nature, we can try writing first additive or multiplicative and see which one suits better. So let's try additive model first, and then we would mention frequency equals to the frequency is a quarterly frequency, so we would write frequency equals to 4. So it's a 4 monthly seasonality, and then we would plot this. It has decomposed our original series into trend and a seasonality. We can see that we have a strong seasonality and a downward trend, and it looks quite a straight line, so we can say that it's an additive model, but we have some strong quarterly seasonality to it. Sometimes this plot comes twice, and we can mention a semicolon here, and that would prevent it from coming twice. Okay, so now we know that we have a trend that's linear and we have a strong quarterly seasonality. Now next step that we would do is divide the data into train and test. For building our time series model, we have to split the data into train and test. So we would build our model in the train part of the data. The green part will be our train data, and the red highlighted part would be our test data. So using the green part of the data, we would build our model, and we would have the forecast for August to December 2019. And we would see that how far our prediction is from the actual data. So we can evaluate the strength of our model. So how we can divide that entire data into train and test? We can do that by using simple subsetting. We would mention train equals to df semicolon 19. That means it would include the 0th month to the 18th month. So it would have the 0th month is January till the 18th month is July. So train will have up to July 2019. And in test data we would have 19 to end. So it would have August to December 2020. So if we look at the data, train has up to July, and in test we have August to December. Now we would build halt interest method on the train data. First we would import the libraries from statmodels.tsa.haltwinters import exponential smoothing and write. Now we would initiate our model, give it a name and pass the training data, and then we mention whether the trend is additive or multiplicative in nature, or the seasonality is additive or multiplicative in nature. We would do a visual check to find out whether they are additive or multiplicative in nature. And if we are unable to find out, it's better that we check all the possible combinations of it, and whichever gives the best result can be used. Here we can see that the seasonal magnitude is actually decreasing as the sales is decreasing. So we can say that our seasonality is multiplicative in nature, but the trend, it looks like a linear fall. So we can say that our trend is a linear trend, but the seasonality is a multiplicative seasonality. So I have given trend equals to add and seasonality equal to multiplicative. And then we will mention seasonal period equals to 4, as we have seen that this is a quarterly seasonality, and every quarter end there is a peak in every quarter end. So the season equals to 4, and we would fit the model. And then we would use this fitted model to find the predicted values for the next 5 months. So we would write the name of the model dot forecast, and 5 gives the number of periods we want to forecast after the last month of the trained data. So here we have data till July. So when we write 5, it would predict the next 5 months after July. So this is what our model predicts. And this is what we have the actual sales. Let's visually analyze how good these predicted values are. So first we would plot the actual values of the train data. So we plot train sales, and this is our train data. In the next line, if we passed test sales data and plot it, then the orange line is the value of the test data, but this is the actual values. Now we would plot the predicted values of the test period data. And we can see that the green line is our predicted value, where orange is the actual value for the test period. And visually it looks like a good prediction because it captures the seasonality and trend very well. It might look like a gap between these two, but these are actually continuation. Till here it is July and this here is the August. Just the continuation part is kept blank, but there is no data point that's missing. Now we would evaluate the model more than a visual evaluation. Root mean square is a very common matrix that is used for evaluation of a time series model. So we mean squared error from echelon.matrix. Within mean squared error, we pass the test value, that is the actual values, and the test spread that has the predicted value. And as this is mean squared error, we need to take a root of it. In that, then it would become the root mean squared error. So the next question is this a good error? Is this a good model? What does 658 means, and can we consider this as a good model or not? For that, one approach that I take is I find the mean values and standard deviation. So the mean of our series is around 7,600 and the standard deviation is around 2,500. And the error that we have from our prediction is only 658. So as compared to the mean and standard deviation, we can say that our error is highly within one standard deviations away from the mean. So it's a pretty good forecast that this model has done. Now the final step is making our final model. Till now, the model that we have built, that was built on the train data. This model was built on the train data. But we would make our final model that would be based on the entire data. So we would repeat the same process that we have done here. The only difference is that here we would pass our entire original data. This we call it as a final model. And the trend, additive and multiplicative seasonality and seasonal period is 4. And we will find our prediction for the next 4 months. And the prediction for next 4 months are these. That means the prediction for January 2020 is 3,500, February is 3,200 and so on. And we would plot the data. So the blue line is the data that we have, and this is the data that we have predicted from the model. And it says that in January 2005 it would have a data around, the sales would be around 3,500.